Hey, I'm Andrea, and in this video we're going to take a look at the Rockies bullpen to see if there are any interesting trade targets for this deadline. So this is everyone who's in the Rockies bullpen as of today, and in this video we're going to focus on Justin Lawrence, Jake Bird, and Daniel Bard. So starting out with Justin Lawrence, he's having the best season of his career. He has a 3.08 ERA, 25% strikeout rate, and 11% walk rate. He throws two pitches, a sinker and a slider, from a sidearm slot, so he's primarily east-west, and he gets a lot of ground balls. He throws a sinker from 93 to 97 miles per hour, and it gets above average sink and some natural run due to that low arm slot. It has a ground ball rate that's really high at 82%, which is 24% more ground balls than MLB average. And then his slider is very sweepy. It gets 4% more in-zone miss than average. Lawrence's biggest struggle has been his below-average control, but he's doing a lot better this season at throwing the ball in zone and getting ahead in the count. So if we look at this table, we can see that he has career high zone rates and first pitch strike rates. And then looking at Lawrence's splits, Lawrence has historically done a lot better in his career against right-handed hitters. So what this tells me is that if he were to go to a contending team, they would use him primarily as a righty specialist. This is where the problems start to arise for Lawrence. So Lawrence is not going to be like a high-end relief pitcher that teams add and then make their closer. He's more going to be used as a guy that is going up and down, back and forth between AAA and the majors, and being used primarily against right-handed hitters. The problem with that is that Lawrence doesn't have any options remaining. So what that means is that if a team were to add him, he needs to stay on their 26-man roster for the remainder of the year, or they could DFA him and risk losing him on waivers. So for teams looking to add to the back of the pen or depth, Lawrence is not a good option for that because of his limitations in the roster flexibility. So the next guy we're going to look at is Jake Bird. He's doing pretty well this year, 3.5 ERA, 25% strikeout rate, 8% walk rate. And he's another ground ball pitcher with a low three-quarter slot. He throws three pitches, a sinker, a curveball, and a cutter. So a sinker is thrown at like 92, 96 miles per hour. It gets plus sink and 8% more ground balls than average. His curveball, he throws from 78 to 83 miles per hour. It gets plus sweep. It gets way more chase than average, 13% more, and 10% more ground balls than average. And then that cutter, he throws 87 to 92, and it gets above average cut and 6% more in-zone miss than average. Now, with less than 1 year of MLB service time and 3 options remaining, Bird is a lot more intriguing for a team that's looking to add roster flexibility and depth to their bullpen. The last guy we're going to look at is Daniel Bard, who had a breakout year last year. He had an ERA of 1.79 on the season. And so far this year, his ERA has still been elite, except that he's seen some major setbacks. So his sample is a little smaller because he started the year on the IL, but his expected ERA is 6.28, which puts him in the bottom 5% of the league, and his walk rate is 22%, and that puts him in the bottom 1% of the league. His sinker velocity is also down over 3 miles per hour compared to last year. Getting into what he brings to the table, Bard throws a slider and a sinker from a low three-quarter slot. He rarely mixes in a four-seam, and his pitch usage looks very different compared to last year. So he's throwing that sinker 15% less, throwing the slider 6% more, and throwing the four-seam 7% more. Looking at his stuff, we have that slider that he throws from 84 to 88 miles per hour. It has above average sweep and has historically gotten chase and 10% more in-zone miss than average. That sinker he throws from 92 to 97. It has average sink and gets 13% more ground balls than average. And that four-seam, which we're seeing here, he throws 92 to 96 miles per hour. It has poor movement and looks very similar to his sinker, and I think it's his worst pitch. And now that four-seam has historically gotten below average results. So he used to throw this fastball 34% of the time in 2021, and then he basically eliminated it last year. So I was surprised, given the results of it in the past few years, that he started to ramp it back up a little bit this season, throwing it 10% of the time so far. So now in terms of whether the Rockies are going to trade Bard, this is a weird situation because if they were going to trade him, they should have traded him last year. In 2022, he was about to reach free agency, and he was having a career year with that 1.79 ERA. So if they were going to do it, they should have done it then when his value was high and when he didn't really provide much value to them since they weren't competing. But instead, they hung on to him, and instead of trading him, they signed him to an extension at the deadline for 2 years, $19 million. So that includes the 2023 and 2024 seasons. So if they didn't trade him last year when it made sense, I really doubt that they're going to trade him now right after they signed him to that contract. So overall, I don't think the Rockies are going to trade any of their relievers. If I were an opposing team, though, I think it would be worth having a conversation about Jake Bird, who has his 3 options remaining and could add some depth to the pen. And then on top of this, the Rockies have a history of being very quiet at trade deadlines. Last year, they were the only team who didn't make a single move. The year before that, in 2021, they only made one move. So we'll see if they even do anything this year, but let me know what you think. And if you like this video, please subscribe and follow me on Twitter at ScalcoReport. Thanks for watching!